So yeah, today we have Rick joining us instead of Christy or some of our other presenters to talk about the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, which is the newly released program for self-employed individuals, freelancers, gig workers, and like contract workers and some other people who may have exhausted their regular unemployment insurance benefits. Does that mostly encapsulate who would be eligible?
Pretty much. The way that that's pretty well written is that anybody who is not eligible for a regular unemployment insurance claim is potentially eligible to receive benefits through the pandemic emergency unemployment compensation, or actually, I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong here. It's the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which is PUA.
Yeah.
So yes, anybody who is not eligible for regular UI benefits is probably going to be eligible for that, and that's going to include all the people you mentioned, as well as just anybody who does not have enough wage records to qualify for regular claim, even though they currently are in covered employment.
Okay. That's a great thing to know, because I know that when they first were, well, in some of the news reports, which we know don't always capture all of the details totally correctly about some of these programs, they did talk a lot more about, self-employed people and Uber drivers and that type of thing. But that's good to know that people who might not be eligible for regular unemployment benefits, but still work for that type of employer may be eligible. So for instance, a little while ago, I was doing some outreach and talking with a daycare center that was wanting to do a work share program, and they had some people who wouldn't be eligible for work share because they had only worked there for like 6 months or something. And I had to talk with them about what they may or may not be eligible for benefit-wise. So I'm going to get back to that employer and say that those people should sign up for the PUA program. So yes. For the attendees that we have with us today, if you have any specific questions about the PUA program, feel free to ask them in the normal manner, either in the chat or the Q&A function. But without much further ado, I'm just going to pass this over to Rick, who can give a brief overview about PUA and sort of what the process and mechanics of things are with that program, any sort of expected timelines that he may be able to share, and then we can do any Q&A that folks have about this new program, which is going to help a lot of sole proprietors and small businesses who otherwise, small business owners who might not otherwise be eligible for benefits. So, Rick, I don't want to just throw this all the way over to you, so feel free if you've got any questions or want me to sort of jump in to sort of let me know, but you're the expert on PUA, and so I'll let you take it from here.
PUA is based upon what is known as DUA, Disaster and Employment Assistance. In fact, when the CARES Act was passed, they based a lot of the legislation directly on how disaster and employment assistance runs. That usually is enacted whenever there's a disaster that covers a specific area, county, state, region, and they enact that as part of the Stafford Act to make sure that people get paid. And this really covers, like I said, anybody who's not eligible for regular unemployment insurance benefits, but who figures into that gig economy, self-employed individuals, and just anybody who is working and out of work through no fault of their own as a result of the disaster. Congress took that idea, made some changes, and put it in the CARES Act to be put out as part of this pandemic emergency omnibus, if you will. With that in mind, the registration is similar, but yet a little different than normal claims for unemployment insurance. We have set up a link directly on our webpage. So if you go to the Oregon Employment Department's webpage, there's a link right at the top specifically dealing with the pandemic, coronavirus outbreak. You click on that and you will be taken to the page that will allow you then to file for unemployment insurance benefits, or file for pandemic unemployment assistance. And we really are trying to gear this directly towards those people who do not think or who have been told that they're not eligible for regular claim. So if we have people who have filed for benefits and received something saying they have a non-valid claim, if they know they don't have any wage credits for the past 18 months, or if they are self-employed or part of that gig economy, we encourage them to apply through this process. They were going to go onto our website and fill out an application. We do have a video that just got up last night that features me talking about the pandemic unemployment assistance and how to actually apply, going through the various sections of that application process. So you should be able to follow that, go through and fill out that application, upload it back to our website, and then we will start going through the process to actually allow or deny people benefits based upon the information they provide. I would recommend that if you have people who are self-employed and who know they don't have any covered employment, then one of the things that you will need to make sure that you are ready to provide to us is all of your tax information for 2019. Because this is not based upon covered employment, and in order to make sure that people get paid the benefit amounts that they're due, we need to look and see what wages or what earnings you had during the specified period, which, based upon how it's written, is going to be the tax year of 2019. So having the tax information that you just filed for this year, or your wage or your records showing how much you earned, then you're going to go ahead and send that forward to us.
So Rick, a quick question for that. So I know that really early on, the tax filing deadline got moved from April 15th to July 15th for this year. And so we had two, and this is sort of along the lines of the two questions we just got. I haven't filed my 2019 taxes. How do they figure your benefit amount? And then also, what if 2019 tax is not complete yet? Will 2018 work?
Unfortunately, no. We are going to be focusing on 2019 because we need to see how much money you made during the specified period of time. It is similar to filing regular unemployment insurance benefits, where we look at a specific period of time when you file your claim. The way that this is written, it specifically says we're looking at 2019. For those individuals who have not yet filed their taxes, this would be a great opportunity for them to kind of move forward on that a bit. But if they can at least provide records to us showing their earnings for the past year, that is going to help provide that information to us. The nice thing about having it in the tax form is because it's already completed, and it's easy for us to go ahead and comprehend by looking at it, because we're looking for specific lines on the completed tax form. But if you have not done that yet, as long as you provide us your wage records for that period of time, that will at least help us to set up the wage records for you. If you do not provide that to us, we will set you up with the base minimum, which is $205 a week. Added to that, because of right now we're in the specific pandemic unemployment compensation time, or PUC, there is an extra $600 that is getting attached to every unemployment insurance check. So that's also going to include PUA as well.
Okay, so yeah, I did notice that the minimum amount for PUA is slightly higher than the minimum benefit amount for a regular UI claim. So that does mean that so you're saying that even if an applicant doesn't have all of the paperwork that you might be asking for, they still would be eligible for a minimum of $805 a week between now and the end of July, at which point that 600 will either get extended or they'll go to that base level of 205.
Correct. Now, there is some caveats there, because we have to say potentially eligible. And I always like to say they're potentially eligible for the 205 plus the $600, because those are definitely two separate cups, and we want to make sure that we keep those apart. Now, with that minimum, though, that minimum is based upon an individual who is filing and saying that they are full-time employed. So if you are doing self-employment work and you are working less than full-time, then it is going to come off that $205 a little bit.
Okay.
So the minimum that's there is based upon full-time work. It can be reduced if an individual is working less than full-time.
Okay, so let's focus on a small business, like a sole proprietor. Would they be, so let's say they haven't completed their taxes for 2019 yet. What are some potentially usable alternative uh, means of documenting their income? And so we do have a question here. Would canceled checks for owners draws count, or would invoices or something like that, would that count?
Um, I'm not going to answer that right away. I'd like to
Okay.
get back to you on that, and I'll probably send you a follow-up when I go through all my notifications and try to identify that,
Uh-huh.
because off the top of my head, I cannot remember what else we've got in there.
Okay.
The best, like I just keep on harping back to making sure that we have the completed tax forms, and I understand that a lot of people haven't completed that yet, so I want to try to provide a little more information on that, and I will get back to you on that as soon as I do. But
Yeah, no, that's great. Um my gut was that that was going to be one of the questions, and then our,
yeah,
handful of attendees, that was what they asked. So that's good to know. So okay, so I know I sort of interjected with that a little bit, but they're going to complete this application that they can either do via a secure email link that OED sends them, or they can print it out and send it via fax or mail. What happens next? There is a question on here. Do you have to file weekly?
yes.
Um,
Yes, you will have to file weekly as well, and we'll get to that.
okay.
Once you do complete it and you send it in, like everything else that we've got going on right now at the Employment Department, we are incredibly busy. We're trying to staff back up to a level that we can handle all of the demand that we have received recently. So, like always, we ask people to please be patient, but we do have new staff that we're hiring and we're training, and that are going to be tasked with handling the PUA, as well as we're also hiring other people to help us handle the other regular claims that are coming in too.
Mhm.
So we're going to be getting all these claims in, and we're going to start processing these claims as quickly as we can. Because this deals with some different moving parts than we normally are used to, and involves us looking at specific information, especially information that's being sent in. Going back to the tax question about not providing your tax returns, if we get a lot of different documents that are not based upon tax returns, we're going to have to do a little more research to come up with the actual correct amounts for each claim. So that can help delay things too. But we're going to get all the information we possibly can. We're going to go through and process these claims as soon as we possibly can, and then we're going to start paying out the benefits to them. Like regular unemployment insurance benefits, you will be asked to file weekly. And we do have a process that's set up for weekly claims that are going to be filed through the PUA system. It is going to ask some different questions than people who have been filing regular unemployment insurance benefits, but though all of those instructions and all of the directions for filing those weekly claims will be on our website.
Okay. And so tell me, can you share a little bit about what that looks like? Is there going to be a separate online system for weekly claims?
It's funny you should mention that, because pretty much as soon as we're done with that, I'm going to be recording that video talking about that.
Okay.
So let me give you just one moment. I want to kind of look this up here really quickly. I'm just trying to refamiliarize myself with that as well. So it is going to be, there is going to be a different portal that's going to be opening up, and you're going to be asked, like I said, some slightly different questions specifically designed to see if you are working self-employment or employment, and we're going to be asking you similar questions, but just a little bit different, especially for the self-employed people, asking for how much your gross payments you were receiving for the work that you've done, if you've done any work during the past week, and was this work performed in an effort to resume your normal self-employment activities, and so forth.
Okay. And that's it. One other thing that actually came up at one of the other webinars that we held this week. And I just want to verify that for someone who is applying for this, they are going to be talking about their gross income, not their net income, right? They don't need to factor in their business expenses. They're just talking, okay, this is the net money that was coming in the door, and that's going to be what the benefit is based on.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah,
And
it is a little bit different from regular. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a question here too. So I have a sub S LLC that I pay a salary and a form, a W-2 plus some 1099 income. Would these documents suffice for proof of some income?
Possibly yes. I
Okay.
there's a bit in my
We'll let
head.
you get back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a bit in my head that with a question like that, we may be looking at that person's claim, and they may actually be eligible for. Well, if they're type S, I don't know, but they may
Yeah.
be eligible for covered employment. There may be a regular claim that they're eligible for. But that once we get that information in, we can take a look and see, is this individual going to be claiming benefits under PUA or regular unemployment?
Yeah, so I also had this question because I mean, right now, as you know, there are a lot of people who might work part-time at a regular type job, and then they have their side hustle, which would be when they're acting as a sole proprietor, or they have their regular job and they work Uber on the side. What do you recommend to people who have these two different streams of income, and would they be eligible for both, or do they have to choose one, or do they just file with OED and you'll figure out what's best for them, or what?
I would personally suggest that if they have covered employment, if they think that they have had enough covered employment for the past year, leaving aside the entire self-employment off to the side, if they have worked for the past 18 months in some capacity, even if it's part-time, I would file just a regular unemployment insurance claim, because the beginning of our entire process, number one step is we're going to see if somebody's eligible for a brand new regular claim. If they are not eligible for a regular UI claim, the next thing we're going to check to see if they have filed a claim back to July of 2019. If they've got a claim that they filed July of 2019 or later that has ended or expired, we can see if we can reenact that and pay them on Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation, which is PUC, which also came out of the CARES Act. If they are not eligible for that, then we can see if they're eligible for PUA. So there's a lot of steps that we go through. When you started talking about that hypothetical scenario, the first thing I started thinking about was, if they've got just a side hustle, which they're doing self-employment, that may be minimum, and that may not even come into play. We may not even look at PUA, because if they've been working in some type of covered employment, we are going to file that claim first.
Okay. And so I think that that's a great thing to just really drive home and to be clear about with folks, that if you are eligible for a regular claim, you will not sort of go down that PUA route. Is that correct? Like you wouldn't qualify for PUA if you have a regular claim. PUA is only for people who wouldn't qualify for a regular claim.
Yeah, PUA is a last resort.
Okay. So, yeah. So if they have some W-2 or W-4 wages and a regular salary, they should just really go ahead and move forward with a regular claim,
Right.
even if they also have some 1099 income, because you're always prioritizing the regular claim over this expanded eligibility.
And the one thing I will say is that even though there may be a bit of a delay for us getting you your benefits, if you go ahead and file your unemployment insurance claim now, and if it gets filed and processed and we determine that it's non-valid and you've been claiming week and week and week, we will still take all of that into account, try to help you get set up on the PUA claim, and then we will pick up all of those weeks that you have claimed. At that point in time, you have now backdated your claim to when you first contacted us, and we'll pay out those benefits for all those weeks. So you're not going to miss anything by going down the regular UI route.
Okay. And so, yeah, tell me a little, if we could talk a little bit more about a situation where someone who filed a regular unemployment insurance claim got a letter saying that they were ineligible. Now, I know that this is a little bit tricky because sometimes those are automatically generated, and they may or may not have been accurate early on, based on a bunch of factors, because with the changes at the state level, before the changes at the federal level, they might not have been eligible under old rules, but then were with sorry, so I'm just talking about the governor's sort of expansion being like, if you have to do childcare because the schools were shut down, or you're wanting to follow the stay home, stay safe order, that type of thing. Would any of those people potentially have gotten a denial letter initially, or?
There is possible. As this all started, I know that first week when everything really started to come in and hit, I know that the unemployment insurance side started to recognize us right away, and they started to make some determinations at that point in time about what would be allowed and what would not be allowed. Now, there may be some cases where some decisions may have gotten issued, or some stops got on claims to say, you were not paying you benefits because you said you were not able, available, or actively seeking work. We should be resolving those ones, okay. And as long as the individuals have continued to claim benefits, as long as if they get a decision saying that they're denied, they always have the right to appeal that decision. There's always some things that are in there as long as they're continuing to claim benefits. I know it's also difficult to get into through our call centers, but the best way is, if you got a question on your claim, go ahead and try to get through, continue to try to get through and try to talk to somebody to see what's going on with your claim if they're not eligible. Most of that has been, we understand what those orders have been, and we try to make sure that when we put the claims through the process and we go through the initial claim process, that those individuals will not get stopped by those issues now.
Okay, so what it sounds like is that would have been a very small number of people, but so if someone did get a letter saying they had a non-valid claim because they hadn't worked enough time or earned enough wages, or they were trying to apply based on their self-employment income, and so there were no state wage records and that type of thing. So if in that case, everyone who did receive that non-valid claim letter should now go to PUA and try to apply.
Correct. Okay. That is correct. Now, I do want to add one other thing too, and this may get into a little more complications, but hey, bear with me here. Mm-hmm. There is another part to PUA as well, because it does allow benefits to be paid for somebody who's not eligible for receiving benefits on a regular claim. If there is an individual who was discharged or fired from a job prior to COVID-19 and is now unable to work because of COVID-19, so they were fired, they had a denial on their claim that stopped their claim, they went back to work, and then this happened, those individuals may still be eligible to be receiving benefits through PUA, because the regular claim they're not able to receive benefits on because there's a denial. They have not worked enough to end that denial, in which case they would be eligible for PUA. So that is a case where if you have if you were working at the time this occurred and are not able to work right now, and you know that you have a denial on your claim that has not been satisfied, you can apply for PUA. And if you think that there's a question on that, you're always welcome to try to contact us, and we can look at that as well.
Okay. And so this is going to affect a very small number of people. So part of me is even asking if I should ask this question, but a few webinars back, we did get one question, and this is probably someone who would have been eligible for regular unemployment benefits, but they had, I'm trying to remember exactly what the term is, but basically because of a prior unemployment insurance claim where there was something inaccurate in how they filed, they had a certain number of weeks that they had to sort of pay back.
Penalty weeks.
Penalty weeks. That's the phrase. So they had a certain number of penalty weeks, and they were wondering about does that affect both the state level and the $600 benefit amount. There wasn't a lot of clarity on that at the time, but would that also be something potentially for someone who was a PUA recipient?
So it's a very good question. It's something that I know that we talked about this morning, and I saw that come through. And our interpretation, based upon the federal guidelines that have come back through, is kind of showing that for those individuals that have penalty weeks to serve, they still need to serve those penalty weeks. That the $600, the PUA, none of that stuff really overrides that. So if you've got a regular claim and you're eligible to receive benefits on that regular claim, but it's being stopped, and it's not, I don't even want to use the term stop, but you're not receiving benefits because of those penalty weeks, continue to claim once a week, because that's going to take away those penalty weeks.
Right.
Once those penalty weeks are gone, then you can start receiving benefits. If you have penalty weeks that are still on your file from something that you've done years ago, and you're not eligible for a regular claim, and you get onto PUA, it appears from the information we're looking at that claiming weeks on PUA will still go ahead and serve those penalty weeks. So once again, you're not going to lose anything by not claiming and getting those penalty weeks off the books right now. Right. You might as well go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Same thing with overpayments. Overpayments fall into that same category as well.
Okay, great. Okay. Is there anything else that you think that is important for folks to know about the sort of PUA process?
There's nothing that jumps out at me right now. I think we've gone through and we've tried to be as clear as possible on our video that we did on that. I know that there have been some questions from people about how they save their application. I guess that there was some not clarity on that piece. If you just give me one moment, I just got an email about that, so I want to take a look here.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you begin completing your weekly claim report, make sure to save the PDF onto your computer or phone. When the document is open, select File, Save As, and save the file to a location you can easily access each week. So that looks like for the weekly claims. So that would be for the weekly claims. Okay. And then after the document is saved, you can begin filing out your weekly request. So that's how the weekly request is going to be handled. And I think that it's going to be a very similar type of instructions for saving the PDF that you're going to be filling out for the application as well. So when you first open up the application, make sure you save that file that opens up, and then complete it, and then you'll be able to upload it from there.
Okay, great. So I'm looking over the application. Well, it's the how to apply application that has all the extra information to say, okay, this is where you want to type different types of payments payable to you, and blah blah blah. I did have one question. So there is a question: did you apply for or receive any insurance payments for loss of wages due to illness or disability? Now, I am assuming that this is in relation to a private insurance, so so if they applied for regular unemployment insurance, they should still answer no to that. Correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. Great. Just wanted that clarification, because I could see some people who are trying to be as honest as possible say, well, yeah, I applied for unemployment insurance. And we want to obviously make sure that everyone can not get gummed up as much as possible if they're eligible. Okay. This is great. So I guess we'll get some additional information from you about what types of alternative documents are going to be potentially eligible outside of just tax documents, and we can sort of cover that later. Do any of our attendees have additional questions right now, or was everything pretty clear up till now? Okay. So I'm not seeing any additional questions, so that's good. And so, yeah. So, yeah, thank you, Rick.
Base period includes, but is not limited to, state agency wage records, paycheck stubs, bank receipts, business records, ledgers, contracts, invoices, and billing statements. So,
okay.
There's your list for you.
That's the baseline. And so if people want their claims to get processed fast. The fastest would be your tax records. If you don't have that, it would be something else on that list. And it does say not, it says not limited to. So if you had other documents, you could potentially use those, but it would probably really slow down your process, because there would have to be some sort of internal vetting process, making decisions about those rules. And with a backlog of applicants who are providing documentation that is not questionable, that would probably be prioritized over something like if you had a napkin with some numbers scratched down on it.
Oh,
something like
please do not send us those.
Yeah, don't send a napkin. At least make sure it's a clean napkin. And no, yeah. So sorry to be tongue-in-cheek, but these are interesting times we're living in, and sometimes a little bit of humor seems in order. So yeah. So do we have any other questions from folks? I see a hand up from Mike. But if, oh, it's down. So, okay. I think that is going to be it for today then. I want to thank everyone who has joined us. And, oh, do you want, did you want to talk, Mike? Because usually we're doing the chat function. I think I can allow you to do audio if you want. Okay, let me, let's go ahead. This is the first time I've done this on any of my webinars so far, because we want to make sure we've got control. But okay, let's go ahead. And I think you can talk now, Mike. Do you want to
work okay? Anything working there?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, great. So, hey, Rick, this question is for you. And fortunately, in my life, I haven't needed to have your office's services very often. So I've originally worked a W-2 job. It was actually a 100% commission job that I left in February 1st, I think. And I filled out a standard unemployment claim about 4 weeks ago. And then yesterday, I've been filing my claim weeks on that. And then yesterday, I went to your the PUA site, and I actually downloaded that PDF file. It looks like it had to be handwritten and then uploaded. Is that correct? Is that the correct format for that?
You can fill it out by hand and fax it in, but you should be able to fill that out on your computer as well.
Okay. Well, I printed it and uploaded it back up. It's handwritten, and I loaded it up now. Are there some documents that I need to provide along with that here, or is somebody going to ask that later on?
If you've got commission only work, I would go ahead and provide either records of that, or, like I said, your tax return from last year, and send that in to us, and then we can go ahead and evaluate what we've got.
2019 taxes are not available yet. So, and so if I was to do like a 1099, I have a W-2 from my own company that I actually pay to myself, so I can show that as proof of some income.
Yeah.
And then you're saying bank statements would work as well too, it sounds like. Where do I upload all that stuff, and can I do it after the fact then?
Once we get your claim processed, I'm running through it in my head, one moment. I believe that once we get the claim processed, we will be sending you a link, a secure link that you'll be able to use to upload those documents to us. But go ahead and prepare them and make sure they're ready, and then we'll try to send that to you as quickly as possible. And I believe they will be sending you that through email.
Okay, perfect. So I appreciate that. And then one last question for you too is, if I filled out an original claim against my previous employer, which I'm not sure if it'll get thrown out or not, but about 4 weeks ago, what's the waiting time right now to get those claims actually filed through your office? I know you guys are just slammed right now, so.
It's a bit all over the board. We are trying to get through all of the unemployment insurance claims that have been filed. The initial claims have been filed, and we have been hiring a lot more people to process those claims. I can't give you a specific time frame that if you filed it 3 weeks ago, we're getting to them now. We've kind of gone up and down the list of those ones that have been filed, and we're trying to just clear out the entire backlog as quickly as we can.
Sure.
So you should have received something for us if your claim has been processed, you would have received something for us, either saying that you are eligible for a claim monetarily or you have a non-valid claim. If you haven't received that yet, then we're still trying to process that claim.
Okay.
You're not going to be out anything by putting in the PUA application, though.
Okay. And then the last question for you is, since I guess I've got both claims going at the same time as I go through and claim my weeks, do I do it the same way, or do I have to do 2 separate claims for each one?
You want to go ahead and since you've already filed your initial claim, just continue to claim week by week on that initial claim.
Okay.
You will not have 2 claims going. You just have put in 2 applications.
Okay.
Once we make a determination of if you're either have a valid regular claim, then you're just going to continue to claim like you have been. If we determine that no, you do not have a valid claim and you actually are going to have a PUA claim, we will provide you the information about when to start claiming your weekly claims on PUA.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much.
Great.
No problem.
Yeah, so this seems like one of those instances that I sort of put out early on. If someone has some income that is normal W-2 income and some income that would be self-employment, basically you can start both claims, but you're only going to get one of those approved, or you can only go down one path, let's say. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, OED will sort of say, there's this one that's higher, there's this one that's lower. You can take either, but
not so much in this case. It's not going to be one of those cases. No, it's not going to be one of those in this case. It entirely has to do with the eligibility in order of importance. The order of importance that actually is going to be occurring here is that the individual who has you're either valid. I can't talk. You're either going to have a valid regular unemployment insurance claim or you're not. If you do not have a valid regular unemployment insurance claim, we are then going to look and see if you're going to be eligible for a PUA.
I see.
And of course, I'm leaving out a couple of other things in the middle there too, because we do have the extension for the pandemic and emergency unemployment compensation. That's involved in here as well. But the main line is that if you either got a regular claim or not.
Yeah. So in that in light of that, I would recommend to not do the second set of paperwork until you, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's totally up to you. But as someone who's trying to make sure that OED doesn't get swamped with even more paperwork than they need, I mean, if you wait until you have a determination letter, then you can make a decision at that point. Either if they said that you have a valid claim, well, good. If they say you don't have a non-valid claim, well, that might be a good time to start the PUA process. And unlike standard practice during the non-pandemic times, OED is backdating claims right now because they know that it is difficult to get through, and that someone might have been eligible for PUA before the PUA program rolled out. So you're not going to lose out if you just wait until you get that determination letter. But also at the end of the day, it is up to you. If you want to file 2 sets of paperwork, you can.
There's a couple of things I just want to point out really quickly here is with filing your regular claim and getting something that says non-valid, there could be some other reasons for that. If you have been working the entire year and there is some reason why your wages did not attach to the Social Security number you provided, that could be a reason why you have a non-valid claim. So whenever you file a claim, even if you get something that says non-valid, continue to claim once a week, every week, and we'll try to resolve those issues. Okay. Second thing, if you know that all of your income during the last year came from non-covered employment, that you were self-employed, that you had your own business, if you know that's the case, go ahead and file the PUA claim.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in your case, Mike, since it does seem like the majority of your income over the last 18 months was that commission-based income that you got paid, that you got a W-2 for.
Let me qualify that for a second, because I was working 2 jobs and I actually had a home-based job that turned out to be much, much more prosperous than the actual full-time job that I was working in. So that's why I left that one right before all the stuff happened. But even if that job was still available, I wouldn't go back to it because it's horrible. But the income that I've made in the home-based job over the last 2 years working part-time far exceeded what I made working a full-time job somewhere else. I mean, so that's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
dealing with here.
Well, I mean, and so either way, I mean, if you are eligible for that regular unemployment insurance claim, that is probably going to be, that will be what you'll get.
Okay.
And so luckily right now there is that $600 federal supplement. So
Sure.
it would be a real, you know, generous amount, at least through the end of July.
Right. So which I'm be very happy to have right now. So I appreciate that from
Yeah.
the federal government. So
Yeah, and so, and I will say, I mean, what Rick was saying about their staffing and all of that. I mean, the employment department has been, I mean, they've at least tripled their staff, and I think they're trying to get more staff as we speak. They've pulled in people from other state organizations and different divisions from within the organization who don't usually do claims to do claims processing. And they have people who are working multiple shifts, you know, 7 days a week to sort of move through all of this. And so it's really hard to give a timeline for when you can expect anything, because there are fluctuations with how many new claims are coming in, how many they are able to go out. But what I have been telling people up to now is, if you don't hear anything for a month, I know that that might freak you out, but don't be freaked out, because it easily could take 4 weeks before you hear from them. So don't, just in terms of your own mental health, and also so that you're not overloading the employment department's phone system, just sit tight and wait for some correspondence via the mail. But even if it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, not all is lost. Be patient. They are working through everything.
sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, so I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, and we'll likely be having another one of these webinars, at least one more of these webinars that's going to be based on the PUA, or focused on the PUA program coming up. So keep your eye out for that if you're interested, and or let friends know who might be eligible or affected or interested in the program. So otherwise, thanks again so much for your participation today, and I hope that you stay safe and stay well, and we'll see you soon.